Andrew is joining on Zoom right now.
Good evening. I'd like to call the February 21st SWEC meeting to order. We have Carlo is not here tonight, so I'll be filling in for him. We have public comment, and then we're going to talk about the evaluation criteria. Then discuss our recommendations to the select board. And then we have minutes and any future agenda items to discuss. I guess we don't have any, I don't see any public, so we're not going to have any public comment. And I guess at the start, we should figure that because Carlo is not here, that maybe we should have this meeting, follow this agenda and have another meeting to button up our recommendations. Does anyone want to jump in on it? Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering if my comment would be discuss recommendations to select board. I mean, if you review what's on the town of Reading website, we were supposed to make our recommendations by August of 2023, and then unless it was extended, and it was extended to December of 2023. So I'm just wondering why we keep, why do we want to continue to delay it?
So I wondered a similar thing, except it isn't done. We haven't made the recommendations, right? And so
Right.
maybe my thought was also that maybe, I mean, we need to make recommendations to the select board. So if we discuss them and they need to be, I don't know who was in the position of doing this, if they need to be written up or anything like that, a report made at the select board, we might meet one more time to approve this.
Well, Carlo did mention at the last meeting that he would present it.
As the select board representative, I think it's probably appropriate that he does it.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with him presenting it, but I mean, it's still incumbent upon this board to decide what gets presented. So we do need to have
which will do the lion's share of tonight.
Yes. Yes, I'm just thinking, I mean, at one point it was alluded to the fact that maybe we would be continuing on, and I'm like, we really need to we're at a point now to make those recommendations.
Andrew?
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. Sorry I'm not there in person. I know it makes it a little more challenging. My thought was I wanted to run whatever our draft recommendations are in front of the Conservation Commission before we go to the select board. I know we want to push this and finish it up, and I guess it's on me to kind of represent the conservation group, but I also want to get their opinion. So I'd like to put forward whatever we're going to put it towards the select board, just in front of the Conservation Commission before we go to the select board. I don't know how you guys feel about your own commissions or your own groups, but that's how I feel. I don't think it's to slow things down too much. I don't think they're gonna have much to say, but in terms of due process, that's how I'd like to do it.
So there, I only know this because I was at another meeting last night where Chuck Tyrone was there, and he said that their conservation is meeting next Wednesday, is it?
Yep, we are.
Okay.
So if we have like some draft recommendations, I could talk about it at next Wednesday's meeting.
Okay.
I mean, since this is all surrounded by wetlands, that makes like good sense to me, Andrew. My thoughts with regard to CPDC is I cannot imagine taking up more time on their agendas by this, but I'm kind of moving into the recommendations. Is that a recommendation would be for whatever does get decided on there, go through site plan review with CPDC the way that other town projects do. So that's my part, that's what my thought for CPDC.
Would that be following the select board decision?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when things actually get mapped out, and, you know, whenever anything gets to a stage of being planned, right?
Angel?
I've been keeping the recreation committee pretty much abreast and they've been here. So I don't feel the need like that I need to delay this to go before the recreation committee. But with that said, you know, anything that comes before, whether it's pickleball courts or a field or a building, needs to go through recreation if it is a recreation. So, you know, I'm holding that caveat that any recommendations that go to the select board go with the caveat that said, obviously, these are, you know, projects that could happen there. It needs to go through the, you know, CONSCOM and CPDC and all the channels.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think the potential stakeholders, but I think that would be after as well, select board, like, I think, you know, they would need to bring in Burbank and tell them what we're doing.
Sure.
Babe Ruth, because they have a field up there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel the same way as Angela. I've been keeping
Yeah.
Council on Aging updated, but also today there was there've been multiple presentations by the feasibility study about the Pleasant Street Center Community Center. And there was one today at the Pleasant Street Center, and there were about 60 people there. And so the presentation has been 3 possible sites, and Symonds Way is one of them. Oakland Road, Symonds Way, and expanding the Pleasant Street Center. And that decision is not going to be finalized until April through July. So, I mean, that's a select board decision. So we can make the recommendation, but of the people who voted today was a straw poll vote. Half the people voted for expanding Pleasant Street Center, half the people voted for Symonds Way, no one voted for Oakland Road. So
Interesting. Yeah.
isn't that, but again, this is the 3rd presentation there's another one, I think a week from Saturday. So, but of about there were at least 60 people and no one voted for Oakland Road.
Interesting.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
So I guess whatever recommendation we make will sit with the select board until
Right.
they have all the pieces in.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's interesting too is what the architects are presenting as their feasibility study is the land. They didn't include the land behind the rink like the public-private partnership has done. They felt like that was off limits. So they only used the land, you know, rink is here and that 1 acre down here. So that was interesting that they didn't even consider that land that the public-private partnership is considering.
In terms of the school committee, I mean, they don't want to hear about pickleball from me anymore.
Keeping you abreast?
Yeah.
It's gonna be
They don't-
popular with the kids.
Yeah.
And as far as permanent building committee, it's only viable to the, or logical to go to them if it's a project that the town is taking. If it's private, it doesn't use us, so. It has to be over 1 million and it has to come from the select board. So they're fine, they don't need to see. We haven't met very often because we're meeting for the Killam School building is the big task. at the
Sure.
moment, so.
So what, you want to jump into the scoring criteria? I don't know what the rationale for putting that on there was. Is that just to revisit it if we don't agree with it, or
We talked about it last time you
Okay.
weren't here, yeah.
you want to go
Yeah.
ahead?
Oh, we talked about that we would revisit the scoring criteria that we had established and then use that to guide us in our recommendations.
Okay.
So, so it was great to put that into the agenda.
Oh, right.
Oh, and she's posted it. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jackie.
Thank you.
Jackie.
So,
So I think what we, personally, sorry, if you don't mind,
No.
I was thinking that what we should do is list those things that we're considering are viable based upon our experiences here for that site, right? And then we can rank them and, by adding through this ranking criteria score. And from there, we should be able to say, this is what we really think needs to be first, consider second, third is how I'm looking at it. I don't know, how anybody's looking at it, but
well, did they ask us to rank them or they just said?
no, it's for us to be able to make recommendations and why, right? So we have a ranking criteria. It'd be nice when we say to the select board, we think that the Edge, a type of facility that like Edge, doesn't have to be Edge, but like Edge, is the right way to go, or not the right way, but our first choice, because it does a wide range of public use. It's, all these things that we have as criteria, it meets them. Or pickleball goes in that location and forget anything from Edge because it meets all these criteria. So I think what we're trying to do is give them some kind of an
Right.
idea of what we've discussed and what we think might work. I know that's kind of how I look at it. It's being very cut and dry.
So I'm looking at what's on the website for the purpose, and it's advisory committee for the purpose of recommending the best options for uses, understanding the needs of the committee. The first task is to define the best use of the property, potential physical layouts. With what we have, I think that going so far as to say this is, our first choice or second choice, I don't feel like I'm there. I feel like, we did have the survey. I think the survey is very important. I would like to include the survey with it. And I think I was just going through some of the minutes of the meetings, and the 5/30/23 is discussion on the final survey. And I think that, the top priority by far was recreation, followed by open space, then other, I think that really defines, I think it's really important to go by that. And then to say, the pros and cons of something like a larger building. And I mean, we really haven't explored it that much. I think that as an option to the select board, this is something that some people, were interested in. So I'm not crazy about the idea of really ranking, because I really don't feel like we have done all of the work that I sort of envisioned, having more public forums. We haven't even spoken to the neighbors. There was a neighbor who came forward and said, before you do any recommendations or anything, please make sure. I don't feel like we have done the extent of that type of work, getting public outreach that would make me comfortable making a those kind of recommendations beyond, we see that there is some desire for an indoor sports center. There is also desire for outdoor sports facilities. There's, we can name what they were, but, short of really completing a lot of other work, I'm not, I don't want to rank things. I don't even know what we have. We have a big facility and we have pickleball. We have the the recreation committee has said.
Dog park.
A dog park, yep. So, there's a lot on the survey results.
Chuck,
Yeah.
one of the things that's always in the back of my mind is we have this feasibility study happening. And if it turns out that that is the place that the feasibility study identifies as the best location for a possible Pleasant Street Center, senior center, community center, then it almost doesn't matter what we say. Yeah. So that's always running in the back of my head, and that's not a decision that's being made until a few more months. So I think we can put forth our best.
We would put it forth with the provision that this is what this board recommends to the select board in the absence of them wanting to put something else there, like the community center. So,
Right. I mean, there is that expectation that if that is identified as the best place,
Sure.
this is what we're considering, but so.
My thoughts about how to frame up the recommendations have now evolved in the course of the last 15 minutes, because I too kind of feel like I think we would be hard pressed to take the options that we have and fully rank them. I think the criteria are useful. I think that would be really challenging. So then I was thinking about, well, geez, could we do a matrix where we're at least laying out the options that were considered and maybe mark them against the criteria. I'm now moving towards something that's more like a narrative. First of all, and to the point, like an intro could say, we're making these recommendations in the context of knowing that there's a feasibility study for where to put the senior center. So, and then notwithstanding that, these are the things that we've looked at, and here are our recommendations. And I was just reminded that we actually did come a long way from the very beginning. That very first survey did lead us down the path of recreation. We can say, the survey asked about things like housing, which we might have sat around here and said, that's not really compatible right next to a rifle range, a shooting range. But the survey told us that. So within the context of recreation, these are some things that we considered. And maybe we just go through listing the things that we consider, the things that we heard about, and have a little paragraph on each and how they compare to the criteria, so that we're not boxing ourselves in, since we haven't had big public hearings and things like that, saying, here, we heard about this. These are some pros, these are some cons. And even the Edge facility to me is kind of a pro con. That's I think maintain ownership of the property, but we do lose control over time probably. So we just go through the options that we considered. And
one of the things that I've been thinking about is, creating a solution for, I don't want to use the word problem, but needs that we have. And throughout this process, the two things that have, risen to the top, maybe because they was obviously pickleball and the dog park thing. Other than that, do we need another sheet of ice? It'd be nice to have if we had, a lot of money but no, we don't. Do we need another multi-purpose field? Maybe. So
The recreation committee puts that very high.
Yeah, I think we heard highly on that.
That is a big,
rather than go back, I think, I like the RFI, but I think that to me, that's DOA. It just, there's too many unanswered questions with that right now.
A lot of pools, a lot of rings.
And
Yes,
there's
no matter
a-
what.
A lot of pools, a
Yeah,
lot of
and
rings.
there's, you
That's
know,
what brings money in. So if you're gonna
Yeah,
do this and
yeah.
have somebody run it, they're gonna need to make money somehow. So
Yeah,
it's
and-
rinks and pools.
and the other thing that we did was when we expanded the scope, and now I'm wondering whether we should dial that back and just stick with the land that we originally were talking about. And would that satisfy?
I don't think you can at
And
this.
I don't think it's worth it because
Yeah.
I do think that that piece of land behind the ice rink is very valuable to this town. It's
Where the parking is
yeah,
now?
it's the only place that if they want to build, and I'm shocked that the architect hasn't taken a look at that. Maybe nobody's told them about it, but that parcel of land is the land. It is
Because
the
it's
land
flat,
because it's flat and it's
it's dry.
dry, it's easily accessible. It's easy to see a building of any sort.
Karen, I saw that. I haven't been to the meeting, but I've seen a little and I was a little surprised.
I was too.
Yeah. Did they, what was the,
They didn't consider, I missed the
did they
first
not,
meeting.
did they not think they could?
I think that was, I think that was the case, that they didn't think they could, that it was part of the lease, that it was unknown land. They just, yeah, I was surprised too at the first meeting. I missed the first meeting and I said, why didn't they consider that? And they haven't, even though that's been brought up, they haven't considered it since.
Okay.
Andrew, did,
Yeah, I just to add to everything you guys are saying. I think we've come a long way in that we have narrowed it down to recreation. I think that's our big recommendation is this has the potential to be a recreation hub or a recreation area center, whatever. You know, we have the establishment there with the baseball field and the hockey rink and the gun range, I guess, counts as that as well. So, you know, we've narrowed out or weeded out some of the other options, no school, no housing. So I think that's a big step forward, but it's how does it all fit, right? That's what we're just talking about. Is it just the Zanny land or are we going to be including the land behind the ice rink? And those are our options. And that's not up to us to decide. So that's what we have to put before the select board is how do they want to move forward with that? Do we just work with the land that we have access to now, or do we want to try to renegotiate our lease with Burbank? That's how I feel. But I mean, and then what kind of recreation obviously is the big question. Is it pool? Is it pickleball? You know, and all of those things. But I think we go in with recreation, in my opinion, and then from there is how we just a big umbrella, right? And then we build a narrative, like Heather was saying, and talk about a few potential ways of going about it, and then leaving it up to them to figure out how to move forward.
Heather?
Yeah, I'm thinking, thanks, Andrew. I'm thinking that now, I'm also thinking that a big overarching recommendation could be, if the committee agrees, that the select board should consider the future uses of all the suitable town-owned land, suitable as an architect would define it for building. Because that is another important recommendation that came out. And we might even want to be specific that consideration, our recommendation would be that it should include a potential, might we call it an evolution of the agreement with Burbank Ice Arena. I mean, rather than talk around it, maybe we should just recommend that that's something that aren't necessarily saying they should do that, but that they should consider that in the layout of potential uses.
So if we took, Nancy, if we took that land behind the rink, which is now parking, I can't remember, did we have a plan that showed where we could put parking somewhere else?
Well, they were recommending using this actual first SWEC as parking, since it has questionable grounds to it. It could be a nice solution where you don't end up having to mitigate a lot of the stuff that's underneath the ground. You can cover it to some extent. I don't know theoretically how that works, but that would be probably the ideal situation. And also so that would be one thought. Now that all has to be looked at in design, but we know there's probably some hazards on the SWEC property. it's not likely that they're behind the Burbank Ice Arena, because when they built the Burbank Ice Arena, they hopefully mitigated whatever was in that area. But again, I don't know, they'd have to do, yeah, who knows, they'd have to do. Yeah, they'd have to do, obviously.
So would it be
studies.
helpful to put a list of what we're possibly recommending and then looking at the criteria? So, I mean, are there like 5 things that we're considering? And I think it might be helpful if we identify what are possible specific recommendations.
Or if maybe we can go back and review the uses that we considered. Chuck just said a few. Can I add one more thing though, before I forget, if you all are amenable? The parking thing, this might be my primary CPDC-ish recommendation, is that I think our recommendation would be that parking, adequate parking should be accommodated, should be included on site. None of this crossing the street.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it does. I mean, I could see for overflow parking.
Yeah, there
in
is a
Burbank,
light right there.
Yeah, they could go across the street for overflow occasional parking. When Burbank has a tournament, in other words.
Yeah.
They
Well,
park in
they
the
know because there's
church.
a lot of land that's being used for parking that happens 3 times a year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those 3 times out of the year, they hire a police detail and get people across
Or
the
like the
street.
typical parking.
That's right. Typical parking needs to be on site. I agree with that.
I didn't mean to derail your suggestion there about actually getting into the uses and what we think about them.
Can I read these really quickly? Because it really was a good refresher to the survey results. So these are from the minutes from May. And Jane reviewed it. Okay. The top priority was by far was recreation, followed by open space, then other, with priority specified in the comments. The top responses in the comments included 87 mentions of ice, 73 mentions of pickleball. In households with children, 78% wanted recreation, followed by 32% wanted open space. In households without children, 49% wanted recreation, 35% wanted a senior center. And then question 2, rank the priority of the proposed projects. In households with children, the top priority was recreation center with 6 points, followed by outdoor athletic fields with 5.96, conservation lanes, parks, public aquatics tied for 3rd, then skate park, outdoor fitness course with 4.25. In households without children, conservation land ranked highest with 5.9 points, followed by outdoor athletic fields with 5.45, community center at 5.24, and a recreation center with 4.59. Recreation was highly chosen in both categories with and without children. Recreation center, outdoor athletic, and then conservation space.
I think we should include that in our report.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
encapsulates
that.
a lot
Just
of the
that- just
things
like that. I
that,
think we
from the
should-
minutes that,
You should write that section.
well, it's written. I mean, it's in the minutes and it was good to not have to go through it, but just to look at it and say, that's a really good encapsulation. And that does, those are the projects that we
And then
looked at and considered.
And then we considered in detail, and I'm sorry, I had every intention of going back 2 minutes the way you did, and I did, so I'm doing this from memory. But we considered what uses? Pickleball, we considered pickleball a lot. We considered dog park. We considered athletic fields. I'm thinking about, and I think we just need, our report needs to be clear, is that people also came and presented to us on this, that we heard from the recreation committee.
Yeah.
On athletic fields. Were those the 3 main uses?
Pickleball.
Pickleball,
Dog park.
athletic fields,
And
dog
dog
park. And the public-private, multi-purpose, privately run facility.
And the senior/community center.
And the senior slash.
Well, no one presented that.
No,
though.
No, but that's all, but that's
Yeah.
being there.
We know that
And
that's a
then-
use that's on the table. And we, could- I mean, honestly, we could even opine on that didn't rank highly on the survey.
Right. nonetheless,
actually-
reality in town. or
But
did it?
the-
Okay.
It actually was not that bad.
Okay.
In households without children, 48.9 said recreation, 35 wanted a senior center.
Yeah,
That's not that,
I mean, the
Yeah.
senior center, they're calling it a community.
senior slash community.
So
center.
it could theoretically encompass a lot of the things, I know the pickleball don't want indoor courts, but,
Oh, well, I think that
Okay.
they
somebody's.
don't no, I think that they don't just want indoor courts. Yeah, it's not that they don't want them, it's that,
So you could technically, theoretically put both,
Yeah.
a lot of that in the
Yeah.
community center.
Yes, they're presenting at the community center is being presented with a basketball court, but with lines for indoor pickleball as well. And they're also putting outdoor pickleball courts at Oakland Road and at Symonds Way. That's the presentation. It's still very preliminary.
so Karen, are are they presenting both a senior center option and a senior community center? It's all,
Senior community
Okay.
center option.
so is the senior center out or is it?
You mean the renovation at Pleasant?
No, well, obviously if we renovate that, but is there any possibility of building just a senior center?
That was the question I wanted to ask today.
Yeah.
But it's being presented purely as a senior slash community center. It's not being separated out. So, which is
I think-
interesting to hear.
I think it well. that's-
What's going to pass is the issue.
Yeah.
And how much, yeah. So that maybe that will even be a presentation. They'll be separating out parts of it, like this with the gym, this is what the cost is, without it, this is, so. Again, it's very preliminary. They're just, checking what the community wants and then they'll refine it.
And we have a framework to even offer an opinion on that if we wanted to, but just to note that the criteria was the intergenerational use rate type. We could just note that.
Yeah, and highly ranked per survey. I mean, that, community center did come in as one of the top choices.
So what do we want to do? Put together a list or wordsmith the minutes to?
I think we can present this, and I think that it would be a good idea, to, as Heather said, to pull out a few things like, okay, pickleball, dog park. We did have that presentation from the person about,
Black Earth.
Black Earth.
Oh, the compost.
Yeah, the composting, but I don't think that went anywhere. But,
I think they decided it wasn't big enough for them to use. That was what Fidel had mentioned,
okay,
that it wasn't in a good location for them to take advantage of it. I
okay.
think it's what basically.
And the
what they
five
said.
things we just talked about flow through recreation. I'm just thinking about what's the format of this report? And we could put together a slide deck for Carla to present and that could be the report, right?
I would want to have also a preamble that starts out with, we were charged with this portion of the land. And from initial studies realized quickly that it wasn't going to be enough for all of the uses that the town in the survey were asking.
Yeah.
And that the property needs to be resurveyed or reanalyzed for those areas in that entire location that are useful for recreation building upon. Because we can make recommendations, but we can't really tell them where it's gonna go because we don't know for sure until they do full studies. We can start that way and then go into, we did a survey, these are the questions. I think they need to know what the questions were that we asked,
Yeah,
and these were the results.
yeah.
And then the final part, simple, was we had presentations from these entities with the overarching decision that it has to be recreation or some combination of recreation, community center. I guess, I mean, I think that's,
So
And then Chuck, are you trying to get us to actually go into the 5 and what we think about them?
what?
The 5 recreational uses?
Oh, I don't know. That was, I didn't author that. That was put in there by Carlo, I thought. This-
Wait, what are the
Well,
five?
I'm just, were you trying to get us to go, like, go?
No, I
discuss
think-
The uses?
I think that those could be put out in the preamble
Yeah.
you mentioned, which would probably be those minutes.
right.
And then after the preamble, we'd have the survey results. And then after that, this committee's thoughts on
How to proceed.
How to proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we
Makes
got
sense to me.
give homework to Carlo to write the report.
He's not here. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
but-
Um,
It will just. no. Say pickleball.
okay, so can we go through some of the options and see how it
Yeah.
fits the
Yeah.
criteria? And I know we have recreation option. I do always want to include, though, that there was, number 2 was open space. So that to me is important to include.
Yeah.
In it. It's not the
So
first choice, but open space.
I think it's.
what's the definition of open space? Just land that gets used for
walkways
whatever
or
you
hiking
want,
trails,
not
or
a dog park?
walking trails, passive recreation use is how I see open space. Andrew might have a better definition. I don't know.
Andrew?
Andrew has his hand up.
Yeah.
He has his hand up.
Andrew, what do you think?
I wasn't actually, open space is very vague. It would include the dog park in my mind. It would be anything that's not being utilized by a building or structure or parking. So the baseball field is open space. But I also, my contribution to that is, I think from the survey, people might have been thinking that big land that is wetlands, which my understanding will be going to the conservation land. So we are getting, or conservation is getting a large amount of open space in the common sense from this project, but and I do think that's part of the larger SWEC as well. So there is open space already kind of baked into this.
Yes.
But my thoughts were, one, just kind of getting us back onto the slide deck. I thought Carla didn't want to present in front of the select board. I'm not sure if that's how we feel. I mean, we could try to present if we don't want Carla to do it, but if we think Carla makes more sense, then that's fine.
Oh, I didn't realize that he didn't want to.
No,
He said he was presenting to himself is what he said.
He said
He
what?
didn't want to.
No, I
present.
thought he said he intended, I thought, didn't he say that? He
I don't-
intended?
I thought he said that he did intend to do it.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought he said he would, but he said it's like presenting to himself.
Right.
So,
I think because he's a select board member, he's
Right.
presenting to himself, but okay, but
He's reporting
he's
back.
reporting.
He's only, yeah, he's only preaching to one member of the choir.
And it's something he's gonna get in as much.
no, that's fine, so we'll have Carla. do it. So yeah, then we need to make a slide deck, or we're gonna put that on Carlos' table as well.
No,
He mentioned he was making a slide deck.
I'd be happy to help with a slide.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that we should all go to whenever this gets.
Yeah, oh,
posted.
definitely,
Yeah.
Would.
definitely. Well, I'm gonna throw out pickleball because, I mean, because every committee in town has recommended that space for pickleball. The select board has talked about it, Recreation Committee, FinCom, this committee, Council on Aging. I mean, everybody has talked about that is the best spot in town. It's not near anyone. And one of the big factors is the noise complaints. And that's why it was removed from the Birch Meadow plan because of sensitivity of the neighbors. And so and if we look at it, provides a wide range of public use, not necessarily, but definitely intergenerational use and meets demonstrated need. And it was ranked per survey at a minimal taxpayer expense. So,
And on that one that provides a wide range of public use, pickleball doesn't need to take up the entire area.
right, it does
Right,
allow
so
for
it's
more
like-
development.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It's interesting to me that, and I know we all did this, but that go back and I would have thought meets a demonstrated need would have been, well, that would have been my top priority, maybe it was, I can't.
It might have been.
I'm just
Well,
being
I-
practical.
Well, I may be giving myself some revisionist history, but I think at least in my own mind, when I was ranking them, is that our demonstrated need, you know, what we can say is a demonstrated need isn't terribly robust, objective, scientific investigation. People came before us, they asked for stuff. We did a self-selected survey. Our survey is not a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's
Representative?
it's not, yeah, it's not a representative survey. So that's where it's like, it's kind of like, it's meeting a demonstrated need as we perceive it based on the information that we had and people who came forward. And I'm
Yeah, I
always
think
sensitive to, you know, the
Yeah.
squeakiest wheel getting the grease. I think we do have, as community members and hearing everything we've heard, I think we do have a sense of what the need is.
I agree, but I also say that, you know, I can't turn on the news, you know, there's always something about pickleball.
Yeah.
In some news story, you know, whether it be good or bad, you know, so it's definitely, they were the squeaky wheel, but I think it's also something that's out in the public nowadays that as a new trend.
And on pickleball, I mean, we can put this into talking points. There's not another place. Now, ice hockey got a lot of votes on our survey, but we have a rink. A demonstrated
You
need.
know how many
we can
towns
say, is
don't
there
have
nowhere else
rinks?
To do this.
And
What's
again,
that?
every committee.
How many towns don't have
I
rinks?
know, right?
And again, a lot of committees, a lot of boards already have said this is the best place. I did also compile a Google Doc of links to story from, as a Council on Aging member, of the benefits of exercise for 60+ community members. I mean, there are, of course, we all recognize what they are, but specifically the benefits of exercise, of pickleball to the 60+ community. And so
I think the key here is that pickleball definitely needs to go there. We just don't know where. So I wouldn't
Right.
want to make this recommendation, no, pickleball goes there, and then they put a pickleball court in without thinking or doing a plan of what.
do you think that that's what they would do?
No.
I don't think,
To do that.
I don't think they would do that.
What,
Yeah,
put pickleball anywhere up there?
no, without considering other
I think
uses.
I think they
Not
would
considered.
actually. I
Yeah,
think
I
that's a
think they
really
would.
good point because
I think
you
they
had
put
your
it-
hand up and then.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. I think
talked about
we
it.
actually run the risk of.
Well,
And I was gonna say, Karen, you had me up, let me tell you about pickleball, because, yeah, I mean.
they aren't just coming to this committee.
No, it's all.
No, no,
They're
no,
going to
no,
the-
but
They'd like to check that box as well.
yeah, so from a recreation standpoint, the recreation department has looked at all of the other places and believes that this is the place. And the reason why they didn't recommend it is because they're waiting for, but with that said, yes, somewhere, but you know, it's when I was talking to Jenna and the recreation department, the issue from a recreation department standpoint too, is that we don't control, the recreation department doesn't control anything besides like the baseball field over at Symonds Way.
Right.
We have no control over any of the land over there. So the recreation department could say, hey, select board, the recreation department recommends putting 2 pickleball courts over in the Bancroft area because they have control over it. So the recreation department is ready and the committees has said, yes, that is the right place, but we don't control the land. We don't know where it would go. It is not the recreation department's purview to say, we want it here, we want it there.
So would that be a recommendation from this committee to ask for recreation to gain control of whatever land is
Correct.
feasible there for?
Oh, I
pickleball
don't,
court?
no, I don't think that that's the way it would go about asking the recreation department to gain control of land. I mean, I think it would be up to the select board to sort of come up with some sort of plan for that and then say, and we're putting aside this area for pickleball, and then the recreation department and committee gets involved with it. But it's really not, I don't believe that it's really up to the department or the committee to say, we want this land, or you have to, they don't have we
There were
just,
a couple of different options that we
Yeah.
talked about. I mean, and this is where I'm thinking, if we're talking about a slide presentation, one presentation could go back to one of the original schematics of,
Yeah.
pickleball fields over in the wedge, or pickleball fields, pickleball courts in a revised agreement with the ice arena. My suggestion there is to show that there are a couple of different places to go, and the select board, can have the right person map all this out. And because there was so much public attention put on the request to put it behind the ice arena, I feel like we need to remind the select board that there are other places.
there are
where
other
they-
places to
Yeah, I mean, I think we could, like, as part of the recommendation to the select board is say, I just say, these are the 4 things that we think should go up there. You guys need to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Whether it means use the land that's there, or, the land the original land, or more of what's also up there. And that being pickleball, dog park, turf field, multi-purpose turf field, and what else?
So we just did it. And then
So-
there was unless the senior center wins.
Yeah.
So one of the criteria, wide range of public use, where is it? Minimal taxpayer expense, and that was from the pickleball. Mr. Cole came before us, and I was really promoting it, and I was really hoping that we would be able to find a place for it. And time ran out.
That ship has sailed, right?
Yeah.
The grant.
Well, so that is my question. If we had, if it was a $300, I don't know what dog parks cost, but if it's a $300 dog park and it costs the town 50,000 and we're getting a grant for 250, that's higher on my list than there, let's put a dog park there and the town needs to pay $300,000 for it. So that needs, I don't know where that comes in, but minimal taxpayer expense, fiscally responsible. So what was the need? What really is the need for dog park? It's a nice thing. Would there be a space for it? Sure. But, again, that's, yeah, if we're recommending something and it's going to cost the town $300,000, is a multi-use field.
We never got a straight answer, at least I don't remember getting, about why no one all of a sudden wants to bring their dog to the town forest.
It's because the town forest doesn't have fencing around it. It's just all open space. So the dogs are
But you can.
going all over the place and it's harder to manage the feces. So I think that was part of it. It's the drinking water to try and reduce. So there has been some talk about making them only on leash and not off leash up there. But I don't know if that's gone anywhere, but that was part of the reason I think Chuck was really excited about having a place for a dog park. Because it's a controlled area.
Andrew?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, one thing I want to add is the aquatic center that did come up on the survey, and that is
Yep.
something Ed is putting forward. And I think, again, is it a need? We do have a pool. I don't know, but it would be a nice thing to have, since I don't even think the high school has a pool to swim in at the moment. So I guess that makes it a need in some ways. But yeah, I don't know how we narrow it down to like what we put before the select board. We could because we've never really drawn up, and that's not our, I don't think that's our job, drawn up options that kind of look at them in the same way. But we do have the pickleball behind the ice rink. I think that is one we should present. We have the Edge proposal. We have the community center. So I know there's at least 3 kind of options. And then we could kind of maybe think of 1 or 2 more, or we just leave it at that, or do nothing, right? That's an option. Do nothing, plan it out, and let the lease go to, I don't know, is it a 10-year or a 20-year lease, and address it when the lease is up, because I think the best option really is to look at that whole land together.
Well,
So yeah, I'm just kind of read, so pickleball, Edge, community center, do nothing. I mean, those are 4
Field,
options.
a field.
Field.
Did we find a place for a field?
I don't know if there is a place for a field.
One of those,
That
yeah.
Fidel did with Carlo, they did.
They
the-
would practice fields, but
Yeah.
not a multi-use.
What I heard the request for was for a practice. field.
Practice field,
Yeah,
okay.
the practice is what was the challenge.
Okay.
And
Am I right on that?
seniors,
I think so.
the senior/community center includes pickleball. So that's another thing to think about too.
So
Oh, oh.
I feel like we're all kind of in agreement in pickleball, and I might even be so bold to say it's such a good location for it because it's so far removed from other residents who are going to be annoyed by the sound in particular. But I think, it would be crazy not to use this opportunity to incorporate pickleball. I don't feel like we're gonna need to convince a lot of people about that, but that other things can go, I should say, but, and other things can go on the
Yeah.
site as well, and those are
Yeah.
the things that we're explore.
Dog park.
I have mixed feelings about the dog park, but Nancy, you made a really good point about having a fenced in area controlling. these
So
things.
with the dog park, did you let your dog loose?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
they play with other.
misunderstood.
They
I
play
thought-
with
Have
other
you been
dogs.
to it is a big,
Fenced in area.
and there's usually, well, the ones, I don't have a dog, I've been with friends. The ones that I have been to have 2 separate areas for
Sometimes.
smaller dogs and for larger dogs. And they usually have like a double entrance so that, dog, when you're getting in the.
Dogs just Smelling each other?
Oh,
You know,
no,
they run around and they- they're
The way you just
lots of
described it
dogs.
reminded me of my elementary school playground. It's like a playground.
It
And our
is.
elementary
It is
school
a
playground
big
was so
playground.
big that it was like K-3 were over there.
And there's like, I've seen it with a tree, so there's some shade, and then there's like a fountain with a
shade.
big thing where they can drink, there's water on hot days and there's seats.
Drink in LA, my nephew belongs to a dog park where it's really for the adults. They serve drinks.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, there's one
You
in.
belong to it? You
Oh,
gotta
yeah,
join?
it's a monthly fee.
Yeah.
There's like a
There's
dog
one
club.
So it's a bar with, you can bring your dog, no.
Yeah, that's
but it's
basically what it is.
yeah,
It's like a meetup
a
place.
meetup place,
Yeah.
yeah, where you
You
can
have a
have a
cute
drink.
dog. you might
All
want
right.
to just do-
I haven't seen that, but anyway.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, they are,
They're here in Massachusetts.
they're allowed to be off leash, and there are people who don't like letting their dogs off leash or bringing their dogs to the town forest because other dogs are on off leash and they might.
The people worry about coyotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big concern.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I like the idea. I think that before something got built, there would need to be.
So the idea, I like athletic fields did come up, so that idea of a practice field
Yeah.
seems like something we would want to recommend as well. I mean, especially lacrosse was big on, they want a field.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, there were, I mean,
Yeah.
if we don't have the minutes, I can still get the numbers of how many
There were a lot, lacrosse was high. Here, but,
And Andrew, you made a good point also that in our recommendations, I feel like we shouldn't lose that, is that even though we have an ice rink, even though we have a pool in town, yeah, this year, at least the girls swim team, I don't know if the boys also lost their swim time. So
That's what's happened.
lost their practice time.
With our
Yep.
former recreation director as the head of the Y.
That's not just the Y. I don't know that they practice at the Y, actually. A lot of times they're going to other towns.
Yeah, they lost their practice time at the Y.
okay, so
They were practicing in the cold over at Meadowbrook at the cold
Oof.
pool. So there is, I mean, in terms of demonstrated need, it's like that's, you know, do we go into a partnership with the Edge just for that? That can maybe be met in other ways. But Andrew, you said something that I feel like shouldn't get lost in our narratives, that we explored this and this came up because pool time at our in-town pool, even though it's not a town-owned facility, reached a tipping point where our own school system wasn't getting the services.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
this has come up before, but is there something contractual that needs to be looked at? Because
That could be our recommendation, is to go, yeah, I don't remember the details.
you know, if there,
There is a contract with the school department and the Y for, they're supposed to be.
And I think
well, there
some of that
is,
renegotiated.
and I think that there, over time, things.
Same with Burbank.
Exactly. And I think that over time, things lapse and I, you know, I agree that there is a need, but I also, you know, we do have a Y in town and we do have an ice rink and other towns don't. And so,
And that can be part of our recommendation,
You
is
know.
acknowledging that. And nonetheless, that's not what we think about.
yeah. But again, you know, meeting a demonstrated need. And
I think when Burbank put his name on that Y, I can guarantee you that his intent was that the Reading folks get the first right of refusal.
yeah,
And if that's probably, sounds to me like that's, you know, evaporated.
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, that's a whole other discussion, but I do think that it is a discussion. So when I see something like the committee shall consider the following, which is the charge from the select board, best uses to serve as many residents as possible. I mean, yeah, a senior center, community center, other rise, you know, that rises.
One of our criteria too is minimal taxpayer expense, fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
It's number 5, but still.
I remember I think I remember the discussion around that one also, is that people, it seemed like there were comments around we shouldn't only do the cheapest thing or the thing that somebody else is doing, but we should be fiscally responsible. And that's how I ended up as 5 rather than 1.
Mm.
So Andrew, what would since you brought it up, aquatic center, I mean, we're talking multi-million dollars for something like that?
Well, it's what's in the Edge proposal, right? So that's where I'm thinking with that.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, the Edge proposal offers pickleball, it offers things that the community center is looking for.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of good things going with that, but yeah, I think you're right. If we were to do it as a town, I have no idea. That would definitely be at some taxpayer expense. But it seems like we might have an opportunity to do it with minimal taxpayer expense.
But do we lose the right to use it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's not-
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I remember somebody came, I don't think, was it Chuck? Was it Chuck? It was somebody, maybe from the rec department, came and gave a presentation about several things, including in a public-private partnership. You don't have those rights forever. So it's
Jim Sullivan. Yes, and he
yeah.
has had experience with public-private partnership
Yeah,
and, wasn't thrilled with some of it.
yeah.
So, yeah, so that, that's, when you have when you have that, I mean, you're still, there still is a cost to people and there's a cost to the town and you don't get the most desirable times and the most.
And agreements end and need to be
Yeah.
renegotiated.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is economic driven, right?
Yeah.
And you're still at the mercy of
Sure.
the operator needing to be.
Right.
And it could be that's what happened at the Y. Their fees went up that
Yeah.
the school couldn't support it anymore. I mean, there's so many things that we don't know about that probably come into why you lose time there.
Yeah.
If they can sell that time for twice as much as the town's paying. I mean, yeah, it's all economics.
I think that did the shift in time that school ended, did that have something to do? I think it had something to do with
I
it
don't,
too.
yeah, maybe.
That could be true.
So, so I like the idea of a narrative and, these are 5 things that kind of rose to the top and here are some pros and here are some cons and here are some things that we've explored and here are some things that, need more exploration by,
Yeah.
So, one of the things I see on the same page you're on, Angela, the committee, well, so this is on the town website and the charge to us. The committee will offer recommendations for potential funding options if pursuing public development. That's something we've looked at.
Yeah, and I don't know how you look at, I mean, that was
I
one of
don't
the first questions I had from Fidel. How do you find that out?
Oh,
I don't know how you find that out
okay.
without, I mean,
They would know, right?
So
Yeah.
can you read that again? What does it say?
The committee will offer recommendations for potential funding options if pursuing public development.
So I
Elder-
interpret that as how we're gonna pay for
Right, yeah. I guess
So-
one of the things,
it. I
so,
think if it's at a small scale,
yeah,
it's probably all gonna come out of the taxpayers, either through an operating or a capital type override or through funding through
actually,
the operating budget.
that is one thing with pickleball. I think that
Have they raised any money yet?
yeah, they have raised money.
do they have $100,000? Was that what they were saying that they had?
I don't know what they have right now. I know they did some funding. And the expectation is that they will contribute towards that. So that's something.
And if it's, this is something I know a little bit about, if it's, the uses are compatible with the statewide comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, you can apply for stateside and a water conservation fund dollars, grants to do this stuff. If we were to ever pass Community Preservation Act, you could do that. I mean, there are lots of ways to.
What's the first one you mentioned?
It
Would that,
would the Water Conservation Fund.
with pickleball fall,
Land and water.
Land
conservation
and
fund,
water
yeah.
conservation fund.
pickleball fall into that?
Maybe, yeah, you can build parks.
All right, so then we need-
Park was built with it in the 1970s.
Okay,
Oh,
so we
really?
need to
Yeah.
write that down in the narrative then.
Yeah, the
Oh.
Ipswich River, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So I guess
So
our
we-
funding, possible funding sources would be the Reading Pickleball Players Association and what you just mentioned.
Yeah, just examples of
Yeah.
looking into state grants and
And like
pair
the-
it with
yeah.
private investment
dog
and what the town can afford and
Yeah.
pass a town meeting. Yeah. Something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
using public funds and grants where possible towards development.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't really look into a lot of
well, unless we have something specific in it.
Right.
to do that.
Yeah, it goes back to, we don't really have a parcel of land that we feel we can, we have that one piece.
Right.
1 acre
Yeah.
that we can only fit so much on.
Right.
And if we're recommending the senior/community center, it's not up to us to
Yeah,
find
right,
potential,
right.
Right.
potential funding options.
Right.
I think if there was something that rose to the top that really fit perfectly, in an ideal world, this was 3 acres and we
Right,
had tons
yeah.
of land to do what we want to do. Maybe that's the first thing we say.
Yes,
Like
don't.
Wellesley had.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah.
the land in that particular parcel. It needs to expand. But we don't know exactly what we have when it expands because of conservation.
Right, and it needs to be resurveyed.
It needs to be resurveyed.
And the land behind, I mean, the land behind Burbank, it's not free. It's just not open because they are using it for parking. So
Right.
you're displacing parking.
Right.
So even if we could build on it, it's still, okay, you have to,
You still do need to find parking.
you still need to find parking, not only for what you're building, but the parking you're taking away. And that's, that's problematic. So, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you need to create parking for that facility too, not only what you're displaced.
Well, that's my point, that you're building on a parking lot. Yes, which,
I think one of the other issues too for with the architects is the issue around that's next to the range. And so what impact would that have? I don't know. I've never
For
heard
the
this.
community center.
Yeah. For the senior center.
Shots all the time.
Do you really? I don't know. I've never noticed.
When I
I coached baseball in the summer. That was the home field advantage when the teams.
I have
came
always
from out of
thought
town.
about that. In baseball and for soccer, it's like, that's what we have up on our slate. So we don't play here in Reading.
I don't remember ever hearing it. So it's that.
Oh, yeah.
Only not
Okay.
like at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, you hear that.
Yeah.
When
Maybe,
you-
maybe not 2 o'clock on a Thursday.
Yeah.
On the weekends,
Yeah.
it's constant, yeah, on a nice weekend, yeah.
Yeah, you can hear it.
I think as you get older, however, your hearing goes down, so maybe that's what this is.
I was younger at one time. All right, so where are we?
Yeah.
I feel like we're doing pretty well. I have an outline here.
Oh, good. I have a voice.
You get the preamble, the survey results, and then the recommendations, which
Mhm.
were pickleball, a field, dog park, and aquatics. Anything else?
So what are we saying about the public-private, about the RFI?
I think it's viable. I'm just coming from an architectural standpoint. I think that gives us the most use of that land because of the size of that building. And we could have fields in there, we could have pickleball courts in there, we could have aquatic center in there, we could have all sorts of stuff in that building. And it would be all indoor pickleball courts, outdoors, dog park, outdoors, parking.
Well, but they need parking and.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
parking doesn't have to be one level. You could do it. You could do a parking garage.
Well, that's one of the things that came up at the feasibility study, the extent of a multi-level parking garage. Like, who would pay for that?
Edge. No, it's not
Yeah,
public.
I think
partnership.
with that one, I feel like we also might, I think it's an interesting point you make, Nancy, that you could do it all there with something
do
like
it all
that. It's more complex where the public may not in fact be able to use it as much as
Right.
they would be able to use town owned.
How do we win in the public-private partnership? I mean, how do we benefit? I think that is it, you
I
know,
mean, I think.
I think there's a
think
lot of
it's
unknowns.
cost.
Well, I think the benefit is that you would get that pool for pool time that the kids don't have right now, that you do get the multi-use fields out of it. The benefit is the facility that's there.
I don't think,
well, outdoor fields?
No, indoors. You know,
No, but
and the baseball, I mean, he had a big field house that was there.
no, I get that, but the rec department, no, I mean, we're looking for our,
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that you can do all these things in a building, but it's still, because it's vertical, you get a lot more out of that
So,
space than if you
So-
would by putting a field here and a pickleball court
So
here. I'm just, that's where I'm coming from as
so I understand what you're saying. the way that I look at it is that it's town-owned land.
Right.
And I want to see benefit go to the town. Personally, I'm not interested in one of these large sports complexes that is going to draw so many people from so many towns and that, you know, will people in town use it? I'm sure they will, but you know, that's not where my interest is, to build a facility that will draw from that's not, you know, to have one
Oh,
of
I
these
think part of
large
our-
complexes.
So
That's not what I want to see on town-owned land.
part of the recommendation of the select board would be, these are the things that we mentioned them, and you can either do that via an RFI
Yeah.
to somebody or a public part, or find a way to do it on our own. Let them, I mean, I don't think that's something that we
Yeah.
can.
There's the it seems like we shouldn't ignore the pros, that you can fit it all on there and then use the sliver of land that we started out with
Yep.
for outdoor spaces. The con is that it's way more expensive for someone, and we could say a con is that if it's private, the amount of public benefit directly to Reading in terms of use, I know nothing about financial arrangements like this, is potentially quite limited. We could
It
say
could be,
that.
yeah, although Wellesley seems to have struck a deal. I mean, they wouldn't have done what they've done, and that's the only recreation building that they have in Wellesley. So they clearly came up with a solution that benefited the town enough to make it worth doing. So I think the way I look at it, Angela, is this, that if you don't do it that way, then you have to choose one thing to go on that piece. Is it just pickleball courts? Or is it just?
So
dog park?
what you're talking about, like, what would the square footage be? Because I'm
Well,
just,
he had the square footage. So he had a pool, he had the field house, he had a potential for also.
where was the parking and where was the replacement
parking,
parking for?
So the replacement parking is just as explained to me from Burbank when they talked about it. It's overflow on the 4 tournament days or 5 tournament days that they have during the winter. So it's not used all the time. It's only used on those tournament days. And they already, so that pickleball could go there. They already made an arrangement with the church across the street that they could use their parking on those times. So the buses need to go someplace.
I was there not that long ago and driving around, and there weren't buses there, and the back parking lot was half full. I mean,
Well, I'm just saying what they were
Yeah.
saying about it, that that's why they felt that pickleball could go there, because they didn't need that parking all the time. It was only on those special days. Is that true? I don't know. A parking study, obviously.
That's what Burbank said.
That's what Burbank
Yeah.
says. Yeah, that's why they justified allowing or potentially allowing.
well, I
pickleball
know
to
they
go
said
there.
that, but you know, yeah, I mean, I don't think we can, I
I
think
don't
that,
know for sure.
no, I think
Yeah.
any parking needs to
With
be
a-
on site.
With a
I just don't see.
facility, you can put parking within it.
Yeah.
Right,
either
yeah.
exactly.
Underground.
Or
or-
put the facility at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more potential if you have a building. That's all I'm saying. And that potential could benefit the town much more because it is a bigger building versus just having something on the ground, which is single story. That's all I'm saying. You still need to have parking. So if you had a field out there, you'd still need to have parking for it.
Oh, I know.
So, and there's not enough to have a field and parking, or maybe it's a field and only park. You know what I'm saying? You've got the trade-off is you only have this much land to work with. If you go vertical, you've got a lot more of that same land going vertical. So you could gain a lot more uses out of that building. Now,
Well-
financially feasible, I have no idea.
I'm pulling up what they had So they weren't talking multi-level though. They were just.
They were, yeah, they had the field, I think they were they not?
Well, they only showed this one level,
One level, okay, but they have the potential of being multi-level.
but that's not what they proposed. This
Yeah.
is just a sample. And so are they?
I know
yeah.
Wellesley's multi-level. I mean, there's potential for multi-level,
But they didn't talk about that.
right? We didn't ask them to talk about that. We
Well,
just
I would
asked them
think
what
it-
they would do if they had.
And I would think that
access.
they would offer that as one of the possibilities. So is this the pool and this is the rink?
Right, but it doesn't have to be a rink, it could be a field house. Multi-use field.
But
Where's
again,
the-
will that
where's the
be
old rink? Is that over?
right
on
here, right here? Well, but will they go for the field house? Because that just doesn't generate the income that a rink does.
Exactly, who knows? I mean, this
Yeah.
was just one suggestion to say, yes, that's the best.
But this
place
is
for
what's the
something.
most lucrative to them. This is why.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why they put that there. because-
Exactly, it's the
Yeah.
most lucrative.
Yeah,
No, he said he put them there because those are the two biggest. It very well could have been money, but he said those are the two biggest things that, you could possibly fit on there. So
Fit
he
on
was
there. He was looking at.
maximizing the site.
Oh, right,
And he did say he was open to a pool and a field house.
right.
He seemed pretty open at this
In-
point.
Was he just saying what we wanted to hear?
Well, yeah, of course he was, because he wants you to think about it as being a possibility. And we haven't even told him what we think we want in there, because we don't know really what we want in there.
I can't remember, I did not. Did anybody ask him like how much use a town would get in a public-private partnership?
He
Speaking of like
mentioned
telling
it.
us what.
It did come up.
It
Yeah.
came up at the select board meeting.
I think it was a matter of how much money are you going to invest? How much money do you want us to invest?
Yeah.
And that's where it's sort
That's
of,
right. Yeah, well, sort of like the Burbank. I used to
So if they're
the same thing.
carrying less costs, if the town's carrying more costs, then we get more time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Andrew, did you have your hand up or was that from before?
Good question. I did have my hand up, but now I've lost track of where we're going. Oh, I mean, I just wanted to say, I agree with Nancy where she was saying, I like the edge proposal in terms of what you could put onto that site. But I don't know if I would say it's viable yet because I don't know where the parking is going.
Right.
So no one's really drawn that up yet. So I would be a little hesitant to say that's a truly a viable option, but it seems viable.
It's worth looking into, I guess, is probably.
Yeah, it seems worth looking into, exactly.
We could lay out the pros, cons, the things that would need to be looked into. On parking, back to parking. I feel actually really strongly that a recommendation for overflow parking should be that it should be there by easement, not by just handshake
Agreement,
agreement,
yeah, right.
because the agreement goes away. You build anything on that site, and if it's dependent on a lot across the street for overflow parking and your citizens running the place and says, no, you can't do that anymore. For that to be worked, it has to be a true shared parking arrangement, probably about an easement or something.
Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah.
There isn't anything now that because there's a liability issue too. I mean, what if someone slips over there?
But they're not using it right now. I assume if they did do that, they'd have to research all of that.
Yeah, they'd have to do all that.
They'd have to, and that's what the church would want them to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a little fuzzy on whether they really made arrangements to have overflow
Or they
parking there,
just do it?
or they just said they would make
Or
arrangements.
somebody said, yeah, they said that'd be
Yeah,
okay. It's like, you know,
exactly.
for anything that,
Right.
an investment that's dependent on
That's right.
parking across the street, it needs to be something.
It has to be in writing.
It said it was okay.
Not only that, I know when the Killam School gets built, that parking at the church will probably be useful for some of the construction.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that they said today at the feasibility study, which I thought was interesting and might be important for our conversation, is they wanted to do as minimal work with the private road here, the 10-foot private road. I mean, this is one of the old ones. This is not, this is one of the things that was presented to us, many months ago as how we could use it. And they said because of the cost involved. And so I'm thinking if we do the public-private partnership back here, this is where the parking would go over here. So if they're talking about a considerable expense in terms of creating the road, I was surprised again by that point.
What is the private road?
It goes to
The gun club.
gun club. So that.
Oh,
particular
beyond,
road-
so it's public,
is-
up
this is-
up to the gun club and that's
No.
private.
No,
No? Is
private.
that-
It's private right from the beginning.
Yeah, it's an easement to be.
Yes,
Really?
yes.
So the only public part is the one that
Simon's
goes.
Way. This is called something else.
Oh, interesting.
This is public.
James Road.
This is private. What is it called? Parker Road? Yeah, Parker Road. Is that what you said, Andrew?
Range
Park-
Road, I think. Range.
Range Road. Okay, Range Road is private.
Okay.
So that's another thing that came up during the conversation today.
Yeah, there's a lot to,
So what do we want to make a recommendation for the next meeting to put together or should we work offline on that?
This isn't as stupid of a question as it's gonna sound like, but like open meeting law then doesn't allow us to all work on a slideshow.
no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So somebody has to like
Own it.
draft
own
it.
it.
And then, yeah,
Or can we divide it into?
Yeah.
Or we could divide it into parts and do like a slide deck that is essentially the outline. And ask, who's our staff? Doesn't matter. You know, have that distributed. Can we,
Jackie.
Jackie.
oh, Jackie, to
She is
maybe
taking notes, right?
distribute the slides to people who sign up for parks and we just parcel it out like that.
yeah, we can't see each other's slides
Right.
unless it's just one or two people.
Just wish that there's a loop. We're actually getting work done
Right,
between
it's hard to get
meetings.
work done.
Well, there were 7 people. So people could work together
Oh, yeah.
on something.
So Jackie, if we each pick pieces, could we then submit them to you to organize them into one presentation?
Absolutely.
That's great, Jackie. Thank you.
No problem.
Do you want
The shoes.
to, someone take the preamble?
I can take a stab at it. I'm not very good at writing, but I'll take a stab at some kind of.
I'm
neat
best
thing.
at editing myself. Give me something to edit and I'll make changes.
So I'll take a stab at the opening, which
Okay.
basically I want to just go over what we did, where we came from, and what we overview are thinking about. And then somebody should take,
So then after that, we'd want to do this. Did we get an executive summary from Jane on the survey? That we can plug right in there?
Yeah, it's what Angela,
Well, I have the discussion on the notes, but I mean, if we go back and look at packets, I mean, the stuff must be in packets.
It's all in there.
Yeah.
It's
It's all in there in
so
packets
me,
somewhere.
for me,
So these are the minutes. So it must be these are the minutes from so there must be
the
from
packet was
from
The
the
May packet.
Yeah,
May packet.
the May 30th packet has the revised charge, which I think would be part of the preamble. So I'm just going to go over where we've started and what we looked at, and then everybody else can.
So the first section would be the preamble, the second section would be
survey
the
results.
survey results, the third section would be recommendations.
Yeah.
The fourth section would be ideas on how to get to the recommendations, and that being Reading community do it, and 2 being kind of a paragraph on the pros and cons of utilizing a public-private partnership to do it. That,
Yeah, I think you're right.
Say that again?
so we'd have a section with our recommendations.
Yeah.
Following that was methods to achieve the recommendations. One would be through community resources, and two would be through a public-private partnership, and maybe a few pros and cons of each. I mean, right off the top, we know the pros and cons of the community doing is staff costs, you know, all that. With a private partnership, then a lot of that gets laid off on them. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's good.
but I mean, also, you know, grants or
Yeah.
other funding. I mean, there's other,
So that would be bullet 3 under methods to, it would be Reading resources, public-private resources, exploration of grant resources.
For fundraising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stakeholder contributions, like, you know, the pickleball group would put up their $100,000 or whatever.
So Angela, you're gonna do the second section, which is the survey results. Do
um,
not agree to that.
I can do that. Yep.
Because then I could take a stab, and we bring it all together, so we discuss at our next meeting. I could take a stab at the uses and kind of the merits and what we discussed of each of the uses.
Number 3, the recommendations.
That's three,
Okay,
yeah.
Heather.
Want to work together on fourth one, methods to achieve recommendations?
Sure.
Okay, so, oh, Andrew, what do you want to do?
Oh, yeah.
Chuck and Karen is doing methods. Okay, we also, Nancy had brought up the idea of summarizing the other things like the surveys for the land, all of that, those other studies that we did. Shouldn't that be included also?
Yeah, I was thinking I might include that in the preamble.
Okay,
Those are things that we looked at and what we started with.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
I'm just going through to see. So June 13th has the final survey results.
June 13th
Yeah.
has the final
It looks
survey.
like it, yeah.
The minutes has the final survey results. Okay.
And then the May 30th has additional information. That would be helpful for me. I mean, you might go through all the minutes that we went to kind of pull it all together, but
I could work with, I think that was Heather's on the specific recommendations. Trying to make some images of compiling what we've got and trying to make them look consistent so that they all tell a similar narrative. So the pickleball, the private partnership with Edge, community center, multi-purpose field, dog park, and then do nothing. So like an image for each of those options.
Okay, yeah, Andrew, let's work together on that.
And then we can have like a final section, we can do that to the conclusions are, which would be next steps would be, you know, maybe not, maybe we don't have.
No, I mean, we really,
They don't
Let
have-
them-
give it to them. We don't have.
Exactly, yeah,
we have no conclusions.
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
We can't come to a conclusion until they figure out what they're doing with the feasibility
Right.
study, honestly.
Right.
But even then, I don't know that we can come to final conclusions until we see what the entire property has.
Should we give them, will you include, you know, what our criteria was?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because one of the things that it does say is that we shall develop criteria. The committee shall develop criteria.
So should I text Carlo tonight and say that we decided and And we're gonna make a presentation to select board, and then unfortunately it does not go pickleball.
Yes, you should, yeah. definitely.
He would be happy if he's got his business in Woburn.
Thanks for leaving it on our hand.
Yes. All right. Where are we with the agenda?
We are at approval of the minutes. Or no, well, we
Been
kind of,
discussing
we
the
did
whole
the
time.
discussion.
Yeah.
Approval of the minutes. Does anyone have?
Yeah, I did watch the video and I did go back and I read the minutes. I was the one that, I don't have it up right now, the agenda minutes. Let me just pull it up.
Why don't we make a motion first?
Oh,
So
okay, yeah, yeah.
the first set of minutes is the October 17th, 23. Does someone?
Move to accept the October 17th, 2023 minutes as originally distributed. Are they up there? Okay.
Yep, I'll second that.
It says seconded by Heather. Does anybody have any
I
discussion?
do.
Yeah.
I brought it up last time. Just that under Pickleball Players Association, I did go back, I watched the video of the meeting and I also read the minutes of the FinCom meeting. And because we have it in there, it was explained that most of FinCom felt that they did not follow procedure when going over this and are jumping up in line. And when I watched the video and when I read the minutes of the FinCom meeting, it was two of the FinCom members questioned a little bit about the procedure. And one person didn't feel it was that way at all. So I would just say, take out, it was explained that some members of FinCom, I think saying most of them is inaccurate. Based on watching the video, even Mark Darrow, is
And
that
do you
his
mind
name?
if I ask Karen, is that the video of our meeting?
Yeah, I
or a
watched the
meeting
video.
of the FinCom meeting?
I wa-
Not to split hairs, but our minutes are reporting on what was reported at our meeting.
I watched
What actually happened at the FinCom.
No, I watched the video of our meeting. Yeah, I watched the video of our meeting and then I wanted to make sure it was accurate because Mark Darrow also said he didn't agree with that too.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
So we're just changing the word most to
to
some.
some, so,
Either way, it gets the point.
okay, so it was a 3-6 vote. So I would say that,
But that wasn't necessarily what they were voting on, that was not the reason why they voted that.
okay, so it was explained that some members of FilmCom felt that they did not follow procedure when going about this and jumping in line.
And again, I don't agree with that, but it's splitting hairs. I just feel like it's saying most is not accurate. And it was also said by Mark Darrow during our meeting. Yeah.
So I'd just like to read what the FinCom minutes say about the meeting. And this is their characterization of it. So their minutes say, Article 12 pickleball, this is a citizen's petition article, which the Finance Committee is not required to vote on, but because it is requisite, a request for funding, committee members agreed that they should vote on their recommendation. Ed Roth, the chair, stated that he had an issue with the process and given the size of the pickleball community could have done more in terms of funding outside of nets and fencing. While he understands their position, there is more of a process of capital projects that should have been followed. Emily Sisson stated that while she sees the need in the community, the pickleball community has been encouraged to organize and raise funds. They are close on process, but they should be able to get more organized for annual town meeting in the spring. While this article is short on money, someone could come to the next town meeting with more substantial request for an idea that has not been fully vetted. And it says that I spoke, and then it says Mark Zarrow noted that the citizens petition is legal and pickleball community has the right to do. So the two people that a lot of members spoke, and it was a 3-6 vote. I mean, if you just want to change from most to some, does it say that then let's just put in, because I did say at some point, that it was a 3-6 vote, that I stated that, because I think I did state it, that, some members felt that they didn't follow process. That is how they characterized the minutes themselves. And as far as,
I think yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think that it makes sense.
Yeah, I referred to those minutes as well, and two people, one person in particular cited, and Angela, I think you were the one that pushed the process the most. I think, you.
well,
Yeah.
2 people are recorded here. 8 or 9 people spoke, and it was a 3-6. It was a 3-6 vote. So
How about?
I know, I mean, does it
recommendation? Can we say-
really matter though? What?
I mean, it took a vote to support this article, and that vote did not pass
3-6.
3-6.
Okay, put that in there. Took a vote to support, and it didn't. Oh no, up
sorry.
at the top.
But I mean,
Where
at the end of the first sentence in that paragraph, on the second line, where it says that FinCom took a vote to support this article, and that vote did not pass, I would say, comma, 3-6. Sure, like that.
Would say that, and that vote failed
Failed, okay.
by a vote 3-6.
See, I'm
That would
reading
set at
Article
our
12,
meeting.
and I'm looking at Article 12, what was written in their minutes, and it didn't say jumping in line of other projects that need to be done first.
No, but it was said at our meeting. Fidel said that. So that is how Fidel characterized it. I have exactly what he said.
Okay,
That is how he characterized it.
all right.
Okay.
So
All right.
no,
Does this, I'm just talking about format, does this draft minutes need to have who was attending that meeting?
yeah, it should be the format of the other set of minutes.
And I don't know,
Should.
Jackie, is that something that you
So
can?
she's got it right there.
She has the format, okay.
It's someone
Just didn't
else.
get printed, okay.
Yeah, put it,
It's just not on the town clerk's template yet.
yeah.
Okay,
thank
okay,
you.
thank you. That's great.
Okay. We can vote.
So we have a motion to approve the minutes as
And add them
amended.
As amended.
Amended, move, so move.
So this has to be a
Second.
All right.
roll call vote. Andrew,
Andrew Driven in favor.
Yes.
Yes, Nancy says yes.
Heather, yes.
Angela, yes.
Chuck, yes.
I like your yes votes. That's not how we do it in Council.
All right, so now we got a motion for the January 31st meeting minutes.
Move to approve the January 31st minutes.
Seconded.
Yes.
Ready to go, Andrew?
No discussion.
Andrew said yes, Karen,
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Angela.
Yes.
Chuck, yes.
Okay, we up to date. That's good.
And now the future agenda is, I guess, we'll leave that up to.
Should we choose
Well,
another meeting
yeah,
date?
sure.
Yeah, we need
Another meeting
a date.
We seem to be meeting like the third Wednesday of the
Choose our
month.
last meeting.
Yeah, it's gotta be. the
Yes.
last meeting date.
So I have a question. Will we all work on this? Send it to Jackie. She will compile it.
Yeah, I'll
and send it
communicate
out.
with her or Carlo
Say that
So do we
to
need,
help her.
do we need a template
puts-
though?
So, Jackie, do you have like a slide template you like to use that you
I
can just
know.
send us?
I can send you one, sure.
What was that?
She can.
Yeah, that'd be perfect, because then
Is
she
that all
can,
right?
that's formatting on her end.
Oh, okay.
If we're all working on the same slide template, right?
So then that would, Angela, I think to your question, that once that's done, that will go into the packet
Yes,
for the next meeting, and then that open meeting we can discuss.
discuss it, right. Okay, so yes, she will, we send it
We
to
should
her.
discuss it before the meeting.
Except
No.
for like in our little pair work.
Yeah.
So do,
Once it's in the packet.
I have nobody to talk to.
But then we'll be looking.
Well, we can change it. We can change it as a group, but just needs to happen in open session.
Right.
Yeah, we can work.
are you already working with someone?
See what I'm
No,
saying?
Okay.
I mean,
You all right with that, Andrew?
yeah, sure.
You don't have
that'd
to,
be
but
fine.
if I need to talk to
Yeah, yeah,
somebody, you can be my person to
Okay, I'll
talk
be your
to.
person.
Working on it individually or as pairs and then sending them to you and Jackie or, yes, I think I'm fine with that.
We
yeah.
gotta reinsert Carlo at some point.
Yeah, and Carla.
But just tell him there's no pickleball, so he'll get. right out there. Do we
All
have,
right.
so when are we meeting next?
Oh, that's the,
And then we have to have a date for having all of this together so that it can get pulled
so
together.
we probably need a couple weeks, right?
Oh, yeah, I need
Yeah.
a couple of weeks.
I
Yeah.
can't meet the 20th. There's an open house at the Pleasant Street Center that night.
I
What
can't
month
meet,
are we in? We're now.
So
in
what,
March.
so
I
we'll,
can't meet the 20th. either.
Jackie, how does you have access to the town calendar? Is there like the second week in March? Is there anything open then, like on a Wednesday?
13th.
So
Sounds good.
FinCom meets every Wednesday from February 28th through the 20th.
Okay,
The 27th?
I can't do the 27th.
Okay.
But the FinCom meets in the room next to us, right?
They're actually in the select board room.
Okay, so
So can we,
could be next door in
Yeah,
the conference room.
It's a room next door on the 13th.
The conference room is booked on the 13th, yes.
what about the burger room?
Burger room on the 13th?
It wouldn't have any, I don't think it has.
We had it last
does.
night.
Did
Yeah,
you?
it
Okay,
does.
okay.
It does.
Burger room is available on the 13th. But just a quick note, I am the recording secretary for FinCom, so I will have to be doing that meeting.
Okay, that's not good, Jackie.
Yeah, so we would want,
Sorry.
So every Wednesday until the 28th of
So
April.
does that mean we need to look at a
March.
Tuesday or Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah,
can't do Thursday, that's the school committee.
yeah,
Tuesday?
Thursdays are bad. What's on Tuesdays?
we
I
used
can
to do it
select
on
board.
Tuesday. Oh,
But not
What
every
if,
week. They're only
not every
one
week.
right?
What is the select board? Is there a select board meeting on March 12th?
Yes, there is.
There is,
So
okay.
the following
How about-
Tuesday?
I'll be in Cuba. I won't. be
Oh,
You're in Cuba?
nice.
Wow.
I know, I'm excited.
I don't know, I have the calendar, I'm just trying.
Yeah, I don't get back to the 26th. That takes us to the beginning of April.
Okay.
What happens on Monday?
Okay,
the
actually, conservation's on the 27th, right?
Monday, the 18th,
Yeah.
Killam School Building Committee.
At night?
Wait. I don't have Killam on the 18th.
Oh, no, maybe I just have it, but it's not right. You're
We
right.
have Killam. I'm also the recording secretary for Killam. So Killam's on the 11th and the 25th. The
Right.
18th. Actually, the select board room and the conference room are free that evening.
There you
So if you have a preference of room, let me know. I'll book it right now.
Why don't we just do this room again?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can do 7 o'clock. I can't get here. at
Oh, yeah.
6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the 17th, I mean, what day is it?
Monday, the 18th.
Of March.
Oh, I'll be in Cuba.
On the
No.
18th too?
Yeah, I leave on the, I'm sorry, I can send you everything. You probably don't
Okay.
Yeah. You
Just
don't
send
really
us
need
a
to. I'll send you
Is it
everything.
vacation or work?
Yeah,
Oh,
vacation.
fun,
Yeah, no
wow.
work.
Okay.
Are you going through Canada?
No, we're going on a tour.
Oh,
in the
that's
United States, yeah,
Alright.
just how we're doing it. And we're heading to
Do you
Miami.
get comp time, Jackie?
Yeah.
For night meetings,
Yes.
yeah, overtime.
Okay, good.
Okay, so it's Monday, March 18th at 7 PM in the select board room.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem.
All right. Any, the last motion of the night?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Andrew,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Heather.
Yes.
Angela.
Yes.
Chuck, yes. Oh, we got a gavel.
Well, we need to have this to you guys.
Oh, yeah, so when do we need to do this by?
Yeah, we should have this a week ahead. Does that make sense?
It needs to go into the packet.
Well, we don't,
Jackie,
what's
when do
today?
you
We don't
need
have a
this
lot of
stuff?
time. Okay. We just adjourned.
I know.
By the 13th,
Oh, I
maybe.
almost ended the meeting. Sorry.
Sorry.
Things by.
So I usually like to send the packets out like the weekend before, so people have the weekend to review it before the meeting. So,
So like the 15th.
especially to give me a little bit of time, if I could have it by the 13th. To give me, the Wednesday afternoon and Thursday to get everything together.
That works.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Andrew.
We'll get this
Thank
done.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Look at me about that.
Yeah.
We need, I don't.
Good.